Welcome to the Therapist Book Club, where two therapists dive into their favorite books and the powerful mental health themes they uncover.
Whether you're here for literary inspiration, therapeutic tools, or just some lighthearted conversation, you've found the right place.
So get cozy and let's dive into the pages together. Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to be sharing some of our faves that we can use with our EMDR clients.
Yes, children's books again.
Yep. So Tiana, tell us about the book that you brought.
Yes. Okay. So this is a fun one called Today I Feel Silly and Other Moods That Make My Day. And it's fun that it's by Jamie Lee Curtis. I think that's funny.
Yeah, she's so great.
Yeah. So this is just a fun, the illustrations are really fun and colorful and beautiful as well.
And like the font.
Yeah, and the font. So this little girl starts out the day being grumpy and mad, and she's irritated by everything, and her room is so messy, and she cleans it up, and it's still not clean, and you can just feel like the frustration and anger from her, like her little face. She's so grumpy.
She's so grumpy.
Yes. But then as the book progresses, she realizes that she is much more than just angry and grumpy, and she recognizes all the other things that she feels. So one day she's joyful. Well, the book changes direction at one point. She's confused one day. She's quiet one day. She feels loved and excited one day. So anyways, it kind of just takes you through different scenarios in her life to recognize that she's not always grumpy. She's not always excited. She's not always confused. She is living a dynamic life with a lot of different emotions that come in throughout her day. And one fun little thing is at the very end, it says, how do you feel today? And there's like a little spinner wheel, if you're not watching, there's a little spinner wheel with her face, and you can change her emotions with her little lips, and her eyes change. Oh, her eyes don't change, just her mouth changes, and there's a name at the bottom of like to label it. So she's cranky, she's excited. And so you can ask whoever you're reading this book to turn it to how they're feeling today.
Yeah.
So that is a fun book. I think we were talking about the application of these books towards EMDR, or how we could use these books with EMDR. And this one would be a really fun one to help kiddos start tuning into the different emotions that they have and situations in which they have felt that way. So if they feel scared, what is a situation or experience where they felt scared, and having them remember those through the lens of emotion.
By the time a kid gets to therapy, there's some sort of belief that they have about themselves, you know, and they may not come out and say it all the time that I'm bad, but sometimes when they're sad, you're hearing like parents are saying they're hearing this. So I'm just, or they write it. Have you ever had those clients? It's little notes left around, and um, so I love that she goes through all the variety of emotions, and then at the end, it's like, hey, having these feelings about ourselves, that's just kind of normal part of the day. So yeah, I think if I was using an EMDR, I would use it right up in the front, I think, and explain to kids what is EMDR, what's reprocessing like,
Yes.
because that light bulb that girl had is like reprocessing, right? She used to think I'm just grumpy.
Yes.
And what we don't know is what happened prior to that to make her grumpy. And like trauma could make kids grumpy. I know when I'm feeling anxious, I'm grumpy. If you have any like medical issues that are going on, you might be grumpy, right? And it doesn't really matter what got you grumpy because EMDR still works.
Yep.
Well, I shouldn't say that. I guess we're gonna find that
We're
out.
going to find out what it is.
But
It doesn't matter what it is, but we'll find it and help it.
yes, totally. But it's like, with EMDR, we're all about reprocessing. We're going to take that, like, I am grumpy, the negative cognition, and we're going to move to a more flexible mindset for kids of, um,
I feel lots of emotions.
yeah, maybe I'm bigger than one emotion, or maybe grumpy
Mhm.
isn't who I am. It's just an emotion I feel sometimes.
Yeah. Mhm.
But our clients always come in with that negative cognition, and that one is tricky to teach kids. I think it's tricky to teach kids how to find the negative cognition. And a lot
Mhm.
of clinicians, we just like skip through it, right? And
Yep.
sometimes I do too. I'll skip through until it starts to become clear in processing what it might be.
Mhm.
But if you have like a young child, I'm going to say younger than 10,
Mhm.
maybe even younger than 12.
Yeah.
they're gonna
Depending, yeah.
yeah, I was like, depending they're gonna need some support in finding those negative cognitions, and that's the one thing that I think makes EMDR different than some of the other bilateral stimulation therapies is, um, kind of that cognitive behavioral piece with, like, the belief system. We're
Yes.
reprocessing how that was stored and changed our view on ourselves or the world around us to
Mhm.
find a more positive cognition. And at the end, she went from like that rigid mindset to the flexible mindset,
Mhm.
which can be so hard to do, even for me.
Yep. Well, and this book isn't, I think I said in the beginning it was one day, but it was multiple days. So she realized over time, I'm
Hmm.
not always this feeling bad. Like there are lots of in between, like there are ups and downs and in betweens of my emotions. I see this
Yeah.
very much as a tool to use in like that preparation phase that they teach you in EMDR of like
Mhm.
getting the client ready to be able to recognize the emotions, what they feel like in their body, what causes these feelings to come up, what thoughts are connected to them, like the cognitions. Very much like getting them ready to do some of the reprocessing. And then even in the reprocessing, I liked your idea of using this to kind of walk them through like um like the progression of from being in one
Yeah.
state where everything is bad to being more flexible.
I was thinking about a float back that
Mhm.
children could flip through the pages and decide if they've ever felt any of those feelings and tell you when they've felt those feelings. And now you could set them up as targets and do the assessment phase with them. I was just thinking you could, so I've been reading, I told you this off outside of the podcast, but I've been reading the EMDR book by Francine Shapiro. I don't know why that got stuck in my mouth, but our like EMDR goddess.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting because she talks about using other means to help kids like to deliver EMDR. That narrative therapy is a great way. So I might even read to them about I might flip some of the mouths and be doing some reprocessing while they notice what it feels like paying attention
Mhm.
to anger or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
So that's a great book. I think it could be
Yeah.
used in lots of phases. Definitely could be done at evaluation at the final phase um when they're like done and finished up and here's what this girl learned, what did you learn, going through all those emotions, and here's what you did and the journey you took.
Mhm.
I think you could use it in, yeah, so many ways in those sessions. That's a great book.
Yeah, that's a fun
Thanks,
one.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. Okay, what do you bring?
So I brought Wilma Jean the Worry Machine.
Mhm.
I love this book. This is the back. This I love this so much. This is a therapist.
Oh my
She's a
gosh.
children's therapist.
She,
And
for those listening only, she's on a unicycle and playing an accordion.
yeah, aren't we always a little kooky, like kids
Uh-huh.
therapists? Anyway, so Wilma Jean, what I love about this book, I use it a few ways in EMDR because Wilma Jean is a worry machine and she worries about everything. And there's these pages where she describes what's happening. You can kind of see she describes um, what's happening in her stomach and in her head. And my tongue gets salty, my throat gets tight, I grit my teeth, my stomach feels like it's tied up in a knot, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes through scenarios of like, what if this happens? What if that happens? At one point she says she talks about she makes the pickle face when she's worried, or it
Uh-huh.
feels like an elephant playing a banjo. And
Mhm.
so the whole first half of this book, she's just worrying about everything. And it gets to this point where mom now goes, oh no, we're worrying about everything. And mom's making all these calls. And I have never related to a mom in a book harder than that one, but mom's making all these calls to everybody and there's an appointment with the it even makes a little joke that like, and she called the newspaper and she called the president of the United States. Okay, not that one. And I think it feels like that when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm calling my doctor, I'm calling the therapist, or like calling a therapist, I'm calling the teacher, I'm trying to talk to the school, and
Mhm.
you can feel like that. But then she is taught about the worry hat, and the teacher meets with her the next day. And oh, and I should back up. The problem in this book is that she worries herself until she's sick.
Yeah.
And then, so mom and the teacher meet in the morning and they write down on a piece of paper, well, on the chalkboard, worries I can control and worries I can't.
Mhm.
And the worries that I can't control, she puts into the worry hat. She puts it on her head. She thinks I'm into the worry hat, flips it upside down so it's caught in the worry hat.
Oh, this is so many applications to EMDR. I
I
love it.
know. And I'm like, and I so yes, so first of all, the biggest one out there is the container, right? And I actually really love that I love talking about the container in a way that's like, we're not just going to contain everything and ignore everything because
Yeah.
sometimes the worry needs a solution.
Yes.
And a child is worrying because they don't know how to find a solution. So there are things that we can control and we can help them with, but the things that we cannot control or we can't change right now, we can contain those and put them into the worry hat. So I will teach them about the worry hat and they can draw a hat. Sometimes we have I can even get those like little Pringles cans and they create like a box or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes I make it more containery and but it really doesn't matter. The concept is the thought needs somewhere to go. You
Mhm.
can come back to it when you're ready, but it's okay to let it go for now. But I also really like this book for discussing, like, when you say to clients, like, and so how does that feel in your body?
Uh-huh. That was my other thought with this.
And
Yeah.
they're like,
What? I don't have a body? What do you
I
mean?
know. They're like, or I've like, it's such a foreign question. They've never been asked that question before. And so for kids, they feel it so much somaticized in their body, right? And so
That's what I loved when you were first describing all of the detail she puts into describing how worry feels. That gives kids so many options to pick from to say, that's the feeling I have in my tummy, or that's the swirliness in my head, or like gives them a chance to be like, I'm going to use that to describe to my grown up what's happening for me right now.
I also like the permission of this book that like kids actually can worry themselves sick. Like they can
Yeah.
actually go to the office and have a headache because they've been worrying all day, or they can have a stomach ache because they've been worrying all day. And
Yes.
they're not just making it up, they're not pretending just to go home. Like anxiety and worry can do that. She calls it the worry flu.
Mm.
So yeah, kids can get the worry flu. I mean, I get the worry flu. I'm
I
like,
love that. My oldest one it was time for bed. He had gone to bed and I was out cleaning up the kitchen or something. He came out to me and said, Mom, my tummy hurts. And I'm like, do you need to go potty? Like all the physical things, like, do you need to
yep,
go potty? Do you need to puke? Like, what's the tummy ache feeling? He's like, and it's also hurting in my head. Like my thoughts are swirling in my head or some version of that. I was like, he's having some bedtime anxiety. And that's how he found the language to explain
yeah.
what was happening in him. Language is so important to be able to.
I think that's crazy. I'm like, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, these are the kids raised by therapists. Like, bless them. And good for them, I guess, right?
Yeah.
But yes, I love that because a lot of times kids will just be like, my stomach hurts.
Yeah.
They don't have the language for anything other than like, my stomach hurts.
Well, and differentiating between hurts, I mean, because anxiety tummy to me feels different than I have to poop tummy or I'm gonna puke tummy. Like they're different. But if I don't have a way of explaining that, then it's all just discomfort of
Yeah,
some kind.
yeah.
And the solution is different based on what kind of tummy ache you have.
hmm Yeah, there's so many places to apply that book, and I don't think that when it was written, I don't think that was the
The
purpose
intention.
of
Yeah.
the book, but that is definitely a book I can use for a lot of the sessions. I need to get the Jamie Lee Curtis book because 'cause I'm like, "Oh, those would be like, that's it. I got it."
Don't
There's
need anything else. I
yeah,
also like the idea of that she did like the things I can control and things I can't control. I use that
mhm,
concept all the time with my clients to let go of like the like urgency to deal with things that aren't actually in your control for kids or
yeah.
grown-ups. Um, it's
That's so true because we can't reprocess away a need, yeah, I need to have access to the bathroom,
Mhm.
or I need a couple seconds to think. We can't reprocess that away.
Mm-mm.
And so breaking those down into what I can control, what I can't is so important for that, and it helps the brain because if it is something that you can control and you're not, the brain's gonna start screaming bloody
Yes.
murder at you and just make
Well,
it worse.
and releasing the burden on the things you can't control because I think your brain also thinks it can control more than it can.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want to go to school. I'm so worried about going to school, but that's out of your control, maybe. You do need to go to school. And so let's figure out what is in your control, how I feel about going to school, maybe the order in which I get ready to go to school. All of those things are in your control to help alleviate some of that.
Yeah. Anna Gomez has a book that's called, Bad Day Go Away.
Oh, I think I've heard of that one.
I think it's called anyway, I'll have to look it up someday,
Mm.
but I don't know why I'm saying look it up, I have it on my shelf somewhere, but, um, I'm like, these are like a trifecta of, um, if you're an EMDR therapist, 3 books that you need on your shelf, 3 books that will help you and your clients to be able to discuss these abstract things that we're trying to accomplish as we're doing EMDR in our sessions. So, as always, we'd love to hear any books that you're using in your sessions, what you have found to be helpful with EMDR. And hey, if you're a parent whose kid is in EMDR, get these books yourself too, so you can start utilizing some of the same vocabulary and language outside of the sessions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the more places, the more grown-ups that repeat the same message, the stronger the message is for the kids too.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Time.
Thanks for joining us on the Therapist Book Club. We hope today's conversation inspired you to explore new stories and perspectives.
Don't forget to follow us for more episodes, share your favorite books with us, and join the conversation on how books and mental health connect on our social media channels.
Until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and remember, your story matters.